Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Counterpoise Podcast. I want to welcome you all. I'm one of your hosts, Everett Stevenson, joined with my other co-hosts.
Hey everybody, my name is Malik Foster, another co-host for the Counterpoise Podcast.
Hey everybody, and I'm your third co-host. My name is Samantha Adams, and again, we'd like to welcome you to the Counterpoise Podcast. We pretty much talk about everything and anything under the sun and how we can try to find ways to uplift the Black community. Today, we have the second part of a two-part series, and it's called Alpha versus Masculine. Last week, we talked about whether or not there's really such thing as an alpha female and what that looked like. But today, we are talking about the differences between an alpha versus a masculine male. And so we're going to start off by trying to define those two things, because, a lot of times people don't think about it. They just think men, male, masculine, you know what I'm saying? But alpha, they think whether somebody's an alpha or beta or whatever. But first, we're going to hop into a clip. Malik is about to pull a clip up of somebody giving a really good definition rather than us defining, because, we often define. So we found something, and this gentleman right here is on TikTok. So 4-minute video. We're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to talk about the definition. So you can go ahead, Malik.
All right, thanks, Sam.
Mm-hmm. Encouragement. So I got to looking up the definitions of like the alpha male, and it's just dominant, most influential, confident, strong, assertive, control of his environment. And then I went and looked at like the masculine male, because they sound the same: strength, courage, independence, leadership. But what I came across something that was key, and my question today, just to talk about this, is it's a true masculine male is courageous and uncompromising in his convictions. He is the source of tenderness and in a place of safety for those he loves. True masculinity requires the courage to live authentically, to measure our strength and our worth by who we are, not on what we have and on what others say about us. So it sounds like the masculine male is a little bit more, I guess, emotional, available, and how maybe the alpha male is disconnected because he's dominant. I'm not sure, you know what I mean? But I think it's a great topic because I never paid attention, you know what I mean, to the two, and how do you know if you align with the alpha male or the masculine male? I know,
I think we have another clip that we're going to play right away. But first, one of the things I want to say is that why does it have to be one or the other, and why can't it be both? Right? Why can't an alpha male be masculine? He doesn't have to be in leadership role mode like 24/7, 365, but it doesn't mean he's not an alpha. It doesn't mean he's not a leader. You know what I mean? Like, why can't an alpha male have masculine qualities? Why does it have to be separate?
I don't think that he was saying that it was separate. I think that what he was saying is with one, there's a tendency to believe that one may lack the other. You know what I'm saying? But it's not to say that it's like that it's overall like you can't have it. It's just saying that one is kind of viewed as one way. Like, and I think he made the point of, using empathy and emotional intelligence for one, right? Like he was talking about with the alpha male, in some senses, people kind of think, kind of stern, brass, direct to the point, leader out front, no holds bar. Whereas with the masculine man, it was almost like, which is kind of somewhat could be considered to be oxymoron, in the sense that it was like, the masculine man is someone that also take into consideration other aspects of, of people's feelings, of, how he's bringing his delivery, things of those natures, to kind of make sure that when he is speaking. He can be effective, I'm assuming, in like how he leads based on who he's talking to. Whereas the alpha is going to be his same, whether he was dealing with, women or men, his approach is going to kind of still be the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to alpha versus masculine, I think you can be in a room full of masculine males, but I guess there only can be one alpha in a group of masculine males, and he made the point like, well, they're very similar, but one's different. One's more emotionally available, other one is not. Then he was going to give his thoughts into it, but we just cut it to basically the difference, and that seems to be the main difference, like the emotional availability. I know we're going to get into another clip where a lady kind of further explains, her interactions with the different types, but I think that's the main difference. There is the emotional aspect of it. Whether they feel like that emotional aspect makes the masculine male seem like weaker than alpha male, or the alpha male is just all about dominance, control, assertion, all that stuff. So,
But let me ask y'all this though: do y'all think that the alpha male has to be alpha all the time? Like that thing is always turned on. Like that's just his personality. He lacks the emotional not intelligence, but the emotional availability of just a masculine male. Because you have different types, right? It's gonna be alpha. If it doesn't mean if you're alpha, you're beta, because there's other, letters in the alphabet, right? So, but if you're not alpha, right, you're not the lead guy, even if that doesn't necessarily make you a beta, but you're just not the leader of the group, right? But do you think that means that alpha lacks the ability to have that emotional availability and empathy? I guess that's more so the question that I'm asking. Like, do you think an alpha male has the ability to be more than one? And that's what sets them apart.
Well, I think an alpha can be both masculine and an alpha male, but I don't think a masculine male could be an alpha, because essentially you have traits of both, and you do have to have some sort of distinguishing between the two. And I do think, when I think about it, does an alpha, can they be emotionally available? I think so, but I think it might be in very limited circumstances as opposed to a masculine male. It'll come easier, more naturally to them based off of some of the definitions and what we perceive through our own anecdotal experiences. I think we would lean towards a masculine male being more emotionally available than an alpha male. I think it beats like situations like, if the alpha male feels like, that's to the best benefit of what he's trying to do as far as leadership roles. I think that's one of the situations where an alpha male can be vulnerable if that's like, what's going to be best in terms of leadership. What do you think, E?
In regards to just making sure I'm getting the question right directly, can a alpha male display traits of emotional availability is what my understanding of it is. I also think that, let me just start with this. I think that we also should redefine like the way we're describing masculine male with the term. I would more say a divine male, you know what I'm saying? Because to me, I think to be able to balance because emotional intelligence sometimes is supposedly to be associated with, or I'm not even just gonna say emotional intelligence, but
I get where you're going. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like more so like just the feelings and being able to be in touch with that is more of a feminine type of thing.
I was gonna say that's more of a feminine energy, but everybody has both. Right.
Exactly. Right. And I think that, so when we talk about masculine in that terminology, like I kind of want to say like we need to almost give it a higher step to say, if you have that availability, that you're not only just a masculine man, like you're a divine man, like you're able to like really be able to balance both. And I think, that's kind of like how we're interchanging the term masculine man in this form. Right. But to go back to the question, I do think that an alpha male can, although I think it's just going to be very rare. I think in the moments in which alpha male, like the term itself, kind of shows itself in the way that you kind of feel like um you can kind of distinguish if someone is like alpha versus beta. In those type of moments, there isn't room a lot of times for them to be looking to think about, well, how will someone else feel about this, or how, you know what I'm saying? We're looking at, all right, well, are they distinct with their decisions? Can they be quick with them? Or, you know what I'm saying? Are they able to, take charge in a group of other people? Like, all of those things are factors that we're looking at when we see, like, okay, no, that's the alpha, because they're willing to take charge. They're willing to go ahead and lead the situation based off of whatever expertise that they feel like they have. And to me, I think that, wow, yeah, I think in order for leadership, you need to have some level of emotional availability. But I also think that it doesn't necessarily play favorable in that role per se, depending on the type of leadership position that he's in. But I feel like generally, when you're talking about leading men and things of that nature, or leading people in general, you have to be kind of stern. I think that goes for, like you said, anybody in a leadership position, especially here in the corporate America, where we look at things where there's things such as hostile takeovers, corporate takeovers, things of that nature that can occur. There's things where you have people gunning for your job. We know in our profession how that goes all the time, where there's people who might be gunning from your job that's already in the actual firm with you, or in your actual building. It don't matter about somebody outside of the office. You got people that's in the office that may want, you know what I'm saying, some of the things that you have. So, like, being an alpha in that type of regard, in my mind, requires being an alpha in that type of regard, in my mind, kind of requires you to be able to say, like, how do I move in this type of environment where there's sharks all around, and still be able to be effective, still be able to, make my presence known. And so for me, sometimes I think that doesn't really allow a lot of room for emotional, because that can kind of sometimes get played on by people, or preyed on by others, because they might try to play on your heartstrings. They might try to come to you, oh man, my wife and this and that and da. Can you do this for me now? Because now they know that you have an emotional side, right, that you might care. Whereas like that masculine man, and whether we're defining it, they might be willing to say, you know what, man, he did have a sick child, I should consider that. Whereas the alpha man is like, listen, execute. I need execution. You know what I'm saying? I understand all of that's going on, but I need you to rise above it.
All right. Well, I'm about to play the clip of a lady, what her husband said to her, and she gives her response. Cue that up.
Let me tell you what my husband told me on our second date, because I'm like telling him about the alpha males that pursue me, and they come after me, and why aren't you doing that? And a strong woman like me would respond to a strong man. And he looked at me with a very calm face. He said, I'm a masculine man. I'm not an alpha male. He said, alpha males are hunters, but they're not keepers. He said, I'm a keeper. He said, but masculine men will always stand behind. Tom is a masculine man. Masculine men will always stand behind alpha men who are always talking and toting and bravadoing. He goes, and we'll just wait for them to run out of gas. He said, but we don't ever try to get in front of them. It's not our personality. He said, but we're the ones that's always there for you when you're crying. We're the ones that's always going to support you through your hard time. But we're also the ones you're always going to step over to get to the alpha male. He said, because television polarizes and displays and honors the alpha male. He goes, and I have nothing against them. He said, but there's a whole group of beautiful men called masculine men. And we're not aggressive. And we're not bravado. And we're not going to billy club you over the head and drag you back to the cave. That's not our personality. But we will just be there for you.
So she said a lot right there, and I want to say, I think a lot of what she's describing with a masculine man, some of the traits were more of a beta traits. But also I want to talk about a little bit of the alpha male stereotypes. Everybody's saying, oh, they're just hunters. They're not keepers. I think they are keepers in the sense of they try to keep order and structure under their leadership, right? Things have to be under their control, structure, organized under what they're trying to do because they are leading, right? They are alpha, so they're not really trying to take orders from another person, right, per se. And of course, like you may be an alpha male, but maybe somebody is more alpha than you, right? Or I mean, you guys are just gonna disagree and have arguments and conflict. But I think the best leaders know when they need to lead and take the forefront, and then when they need to step back and listen to the people that follow them, because an alpha male or masculine male, anybody, a female, whatever, they don't know everything, right? So of course they're going to need, other people because as a society we're better in groups. We're social creatures. So therefore, even alpha males going to need some sort of help. Even hunting, back those days when men used to hunt, right, for food and stuff, they still hunt in groups. They didn't just hunt alone. Maybe some did, but most of the time it was we're hunting in groups. Of course, the alpha male would, he would do the most work or have the biggest catch or whatever, a demonstration of their strength, their intelligence, their bravado, all those things that she was saying. While the other males, they just didn't get the best. They didn't get the best looking women, or they didn't get the most women, whatever the prize was. They didn't get that prize at that time, and I think that still holds true to this day. Like, but it takes a different form, whether it's jobs or athletics, stuff like that. It takes a different form than the hunter and gathering example that she displayed as that example. And another point that she made was very interesting to me was the emotional side of things, right? She said, the masculine male, he's always there to support, they're a keeper, stuff like that. And, the way she was saying it and describing what the husband was saying at the time was like, it seemed like a more of a beta traits to me. Like, oh, I'll play, I'll wait, I don't want to step on the alpha male's toes, essentially. I'm paraphrasing here, but that's kind of what she was saying. Like, oh, I can wait him out. He'll run out of gas because he's going too hard and stuff like that. And then I can take my moment to strike because I don't want to attack him head on up. That's real beta vibes right there. So I think you can be masculine and you can be beta, and you can be masculine and you can be alpha as well. When it comes to the alpha versus beta, I think they both can display masculine traits, but one will assert their dominance majority of the time, the other won't. They'll be more playing the background beta, So I'll let y'all jump in here.
Yeah, I would almost distinguish it from the beta tip because I don't necessarily feel like, beta even has those desires to kind of be in leadership like that or be in the front role like that. That's why I feel like it's more like that Sigma male, if you will, and I believe the term that I kind of associated that with is more like a planner. Like they might not necessarily have the strength of the alpha male, but they're always kind of thinking and plotting on ways where maybe they might try to set up a situation that get the alpha male out the way, or to the other point that he made, they just might sit back and play the background until they see their opportunity to kind of pounce, and I don't think that that's necessarily a beta type, right? Because I don't feel like a beta is looking for their moment to get in front. I think a beta is just kind of cool with going with the flow. Whereas like there's some people who, like I said, in a Sigma term in regards, like they want their spot in the front, but they just might not be strong enough to go take it. This was kind of relied to, like when they talked about, again, maybe somebody who may be a CEO of some sorts who might necessarily wasn't he wasn't necessarily like the engineer that knew how to create the product right there, but he knew how to play the politics and be able to get himself in position to hire that engineer, right? And to work with other individuals to maybe get it marketed the right way, to work with others. So he might not be he's not the best marketer, he's not the smartest, scientist or any of those things like that. But what he is really good at is bringing people together, being able to, be in the forefront, because again, the person who may be able to be the smartest person might not be the most articulate. He might not be the person that wants to be out front like that. So those type of factors play into that role. And that's why I said this is more like a Sigma person. I think she was kind of describing more so than just a straight, beta. But I do agree with the overall sentiments of her statements in the regards that there are a lot of guys out here who do display the right type of things, but they're like she said, they're not looking to beat you down over the billy club to make sure that you understand that I'm the one. They're not necessarily willing to say like, oh, I'm willing to show you out of every dude you talk to, won't nobody treat you better than I treat you. Won't nobody go as hard as I go for you. They're not willing to do all of that. They might just be willing to say, you know what, hey, when you get to a point in your life that you come to understand what really matters in life, and if I'm available, we can work something out. They might play that type of role where it's like, again, I'm not out here trying to, win you over by force. I'm not trying to win you over by, courtesies and niceness and things of that nature. I'm just going to win you over because of who I am as a person. And those traits alone will show to be important over time. And I think that, that's the type of woman, or excuse me, the type of man that she was describing as her husband. I think that's an ideal type of man for most women. I think, simply because, again, this is somebody who probably won't even mind you being in the forefront. Probably won't even mind you having your own thing. Like, because you got to understand, for some alpha males, you having your own thing and I'm doing my thing. Like, how that's gonna work? You know what I'm saying? If I'm trying to do what I got going on and you trying to do what you got going on, then who's there helping make sure that the home has what it's supposed to be going on? So that alpha male might not be really looking for you to have your own career, to have your own thing going on. That alpha male might feel like, no, my wife need to be a stay-at-home wife. She needed to, I'm gonna take care of everything. She can take care of these type of things. And I think so sometimes when women say like, oh, I want an alpha male, it's like, but do you really though? Because do you understand that man's not going to be willing to allow you to pursue your purpose at the same length that he's maybe willing to pursue his own purpose? You feel what I'm saying? Because he's going to feel like maybe his purpose is the ultimate purpose and your purpose is to support his purpose. So those are things that I also think have to be into consideration when, we talk about alpha versus, masculine or beta, or excuse me, sigma, either other times.
So just a couple things. I got a little pushback to that. First, I want to address, the first thing I want to address is the stereotype of the alpha male, right? It almost seems as though a lot of people try to make the alpha male look like he's a narcissist, right? Like, and I don't think that just because somebody's an alpha makes them narcissistic, right? Just because you dominate, you're a leader, because there are different stereotypes, right? So when we talk about the difference between alpha versus beta, I was actually able to pull something up, and it actually broke down all of the types. Hold on for just a second. Let me see if I can find it again. I literally just had it. I'll try to find it. Oh, here it is. So there are actually 7 types of 7 different male personality types, right? You have the alpha male, though they are supposed to, and I found this on WikiHow. They're fearless trailblazers who love to be in control, while the beta males are kind, gentle souls who prioritize personal connections. Then you have sigma males who are rebellious leaders with lots of life experience, while delta males are responsible companions who want you by their side. Then you have the zeta males who are non-conforming creatives, gamma males are charismatic nomads, and omega males are sharp intellectuals with boundless ideas. So you have all of these different types of characteristics, but in the alpha male specifically, the most common personality traits are bravery, high achieving, and social. And then they're often in the workplace, often they are CEOs, managers, a military general, a politician, somebody with some type of a leadership role. And then, so for those that don't even know what any of that means or just need kind of an example, WikiHow also breaks down like in pop culture, like some examples, right? Braveheart, Maverick from Top Gun, Leonidas from 300, because they were the leaders. They were the ones that actually exuded that bravado and all of that other stuff. And people typically followed them, right? Whereas with the beta male, they tend to be friendly and gentle and selfless. And they often excel at being people like doctors, nurses, social workers, teachers, because those jobs require more empathy, right? And I think that's more so what she was talking about. I think there was some confusion about the difference between what it means to be masculine and what it means to be beta. So I agree with you guys as it relates to that, especially, I know you said that, Malik. I think that what she was describing was more of a beta male, right? And those are people like Sam from Game of Thrones, Phil from Modern Family, or Ben from Parks and Recreation. But then, I'm not going to dig too deep into like the other characteristics, right? The other personality traits, because we're focusing on these ones. But I do agree also too about how they may pick some of these other people that fall within these other personality traits, and alpha will, to help push them forward, because a good leader knows who to have on their team. And so that's one thing. But one other thing, the thing that I wanted to kind of push back on is the thing about there was something that you just said, E. It was about women choosing an alpha male. I don't believe that all alpha males want, and I don't know if you necessarily meant it this way, but this is what I took from it. I don't believe that all alpha males are going to want necessarily women to not have something else going on the side. I do believe, though, that they're going to want they want to be the dominant ones, right? Because the goal is to lead. They're always going to lead. So of course, they're going to want a woman that's going to be submissive, that's going to be subservient, that's going to be supportive. And honestly, that's what feminine energy is. And that's kind of what it means to be a woman anyway, right? In the role of a male-female relationship. So if you have somebody that's an alpha, you're going to want a woman who, even if she's an alpha outside, she got to be a beta at home, right? Because it's that man's job to lead and do all of the things, right? To get them to where they need to go. Yes, there may be some men that would prefer their woman not working at all and just to play that supportive role. That's cool too. You see what I mean? It's to each. Okay, it's to each his own. You see what I mean? But I just wanted to give a little bit of pushback, because I just think that I think that the picture that people often try to paint about alpha males is that they're narcissistic. I don't think that they're narcissistic. I think masculine energy, I think they all share a common trait, right? Because alpha males, I think that you can be a masculine male and have any one of those personality traits. I don't think that it necessarily, because regardless of what your personality trait is, typically, generally speaking, in a traditional sense, right? The male's job is to lead, guide, and provide. And so I don't care if you're a alpha, a beta, a zeta, a gamma, a delta. I don't care what personality trait you have as a man. When you're in that traditional relationship role, it's still to lead your household, right? It's still to protect your family. It's still to do all of the things. But with an alpha, I just think he exudes it more in and out of the home.
Yeah, so just to clarify what I was just saying in that statement, I don't necessarily feel like every alpha means that they don't want their wife to necessarily have a life outside of them. No, But what I did mean that, and I think you clarified that very well, is they're going to have certain expectations. And depending on who that alpha male is that you have, his expectation might be that I want you to support me and what I got going on. You know what I'm saying? This might be a person who might be trying to really do something major. So he might not want to, he might want to feel like, hey, listen, the way that I need you to be in my life is to be like this. You feel what I'm saying? And then if you're coming into the situation like, well, I have my own plans and what I was going to do was this, that, and the third, and I was already working towards that. If that man is alpha, he going to be like, okay, well, go do your own thing then. You feel what I'm saying? But this is what I need. This is what I need in order for our situation to work, right? And I think that sometimes people might not necessarily be ready for that, you know what I'm saying, in particular, because it's like, yeah, you saying you want somebody that's going to be dominant, but you also want to be able to be dominant yourself. And I'm like, sure, that does work in a lot of spaces, but sometimes there's going to be some people that you might meet that might be like, that's not really what I had in mind. That's not really what, how I want, this ship to get ran. So, like I said, that's primarily it. But no, I don't think that all alphas require or just want, complete submission or, total, like a stay at home. All alphas want to stay at home wives. No, I don't think that's the case. I do think that they are going to have a guide in a role in which they would like you to play. And I think, that might be the case with all men, right? Even the beta man is probably going to have some ideas for what he may want his wife to do. But I just think that the alpha male might be non-apologetic about it. He might be more like, it might be more of a, what's the term called? Non-negotiable. Whereas the beta male might be willing to give in on some things that maybe he initially wanted, but he might give it up for the greater good of the relationship, right? So, maybe he might have wanted to have a wife that would, have certain things ready for him whenever he got off or this, that, and the third, but he'd be okay with, doing it himself, or he'll be okay with maybe doing the laundry for the house, even though he might have envisioned that he would have a wife that would do something different.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of get into an interesting question that I proposed during our discussion of this topic. Our pre-production is, does a leader have to be an alpha? And I would say no. I think a masculine male can lead. I think even a beta male can generally lead, even though that's not generally in their character or generally in their demeanor and behaviors and character traits. And then I think sometimes an alpha doesn't always have to lead, right? I think sometimes, a sign of a good leader is you can play in the background. You let other people do their jobs, their roles appropriately, and your job is more so to oversee, to delegate. But you may not take the lead on a certain aspect of something, especially at a job or maybe even in a relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship or a friendship relationship or a work relationship, whatever relationship it is. You might not always take the lead. So I think, to answer the question, I do think a beta male, not a beta male, excuse me, a masculine male can be a leader, and it doesn't always have to be an alpha male. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm mute.
Making sure that I heard the question correctly. The question was, again, do you have to be an alpha male to be in leadership? Is that what it was?
No. No. Does every leader have to be an alpha male?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think it's interchanged or whatever, but
yeah,
leader have to be an alpha male. I agree with you. No, I don't. I think that I think that every male does need to have leadership qualities, because there's going to be times in your life where you're going to have to step up into that role, and you might have to be a leader. So even though your position might be one of a more kumbaya type of mindset, go with the flow, but there might be times in which you have to display that you are able and capable of jumping into that leadership role and being able to handle the situations as such, and not necessarily feel like you're always just looking to play a role and not necessarily being able to be comfortable setting the tone or setting the direction for whether it's the family, the office, whatever, your department, whatever it is, the project that you might be working on, whatever community that you're involved in.
So, pardon me, my dog was barking, but I do think that I do not think that every leader has to be an alpha, but I do believe that all male characteristics, I do believe that men function in their masculine energy. I think being a divine masculine doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think it defines whether or not you're an alpha, a beta, a gamma, a delta, a zeta, or whatever, right? A sigma. I think that whether or not, like, I'm trying to say this correctly so that it makes sense. I think that how you exude your divine masculinity is how you get to that personality trait. Does that make sense? So, like, even though you're going to have these different types of personalities, you can still function in your masculine energy. I think that any male can be a leader, right? Just like Malik said, I agree with what Malik said, like, it could be a beta. It could be, like, think about it. I just gave y'all some of the roles. A doctor could be considered a sigma male. So let's think of it like this. There are plenty of doctors out there that have their own practices, right? And not every doctor has great bedside manner, but they care about people. Sometimes they might just love the science. So I think that it's important to just remember that I don't think that every leader has to be an alpha, but because I definitely agree also too with Malik when he says that a good leader has to know how to follow, right? So I do agree with that as it relates to that. But I think that people should be more aware and understanding that there's a difference between there's more than, it's not alpha versus masculine, even though that's what we've titled this thing. It's not really alpha versus masculine. It's really alpha versus beta versus sigma versus, you see what I'm saying? And ask whether or not those people function in their divine masculinity, right? Because you're going to ask that same question of women, right? Is she operating in her divine femininity, or is she operating in her masculinity? When I think about men and women, I think about a yin yang, right? For those of y'all that don't know what a yin yang, that's that black and white little circle that's like this, and it's got a black dot on the white side or a white side on a black dot. And it means balance. But the thing is, neither one of them are all of one thing. They both exude a little bit of each other. So when you look at it, it's almost like one of them might be all feminine energy with some masculine energy in it, and vice versa, right? And I think that we have to remember that we're all going to carry both, but which one are you functioning in? Are you functioning in that black dot, or are you functioning in that white space, or vice versa? And I think that with a lot of times when men say women are functioning in their masculine energy, they're spending more time at, like, let's say the woman is the white side and the black dot, she's spending more time in that black dot because that black dot is that masculine energy, right? Or divine masculinity. And sometimes men, let's just be honest and be real, sometimes men are functioning way too heavily in that white dot rather than that black space. So I think that it's about balance. It's about really knowing who you are, and knowing the difference between an alpha versus a beta versus a sigma and a delta, and knowing that those exist, because it doesn't always have to be, oh, he's not being masculine. Sometimes he might be being masculine. He might just be a beta. And I think that we have to just really have a better understanding of that. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and transition into our Black book of the month. Our Black book of the month is Soul of Black Folks. It is written by W.E.B. Du Bois. The Souls of Black Folks. It was written by W.E.B. Du Bois. It's a good book. I think that culturally speaking, we should all read it because it talks about different perspectives of different Black people and from back in the day, right? and you kind of learn how people think. And honest to God, Black people still think this way. But when you really understand like how people perceive what was going on in the world, like it kind of helps give you a little bit more perspective as to what's going on today and how you may want to move, right? As far as our Black business of the month is concerned, it's called Harlem Chocolate Factory. It's a chocolate factory out of Harlem. The book, want me to repeat it again? It's called The Souls of Black Folks, and it's by W.E.B. Du Bois. And so again, the Black business of the month, it's called Harlem Chocolate Factory. And it's about, what it is these two Black young ladies, they graduated from Spelman together. They opened up a chocolate factory out in Harlem. And so I think that everybody should check it out. I think they deliver, pardon me for just a second, because I'm pulling up our quote, our motivational quote. And so make sure you check them out. And then as far as our quote is concerned, I was able to find a number of quotes, but the one that's actually considered the most famous is, it says that happiness is not a matter of intensity, but of balance, order, rhythm, and harmony. The reason why I chose that quote is because when we're talking about whether or not you're functioning in masculine energy, whether or not you're an alpha, whether or not you're functioning in feminine energy, your divine femininity, divine masculinity, or if you're a beta or whatever, the thing is you have to have balance. I believe that the two can coexist. I don't think that any one person lives in a box. And so because they can coexist, we have to be able to understand that there has to be balance. Yeah, you're going to have a little bit more salt than you are pepper, or maybe you're going to have a little bit more, garlic powder, whatever your seasoning is, whatever your spices. Yeah, you might have a little bit more than somebody else, but it doesn't mean that you don't have balance. And the reason why I said balance, order, rhythm, and harmony is because, that spice, that sauce, that's juice, that's you. You see what I'm saying? And some people don't really have a lot of it. Some people have a lot. You know what I mean? And it's what makes you and makes you an individual. And regardless of whether you have a lot or little, you are your own person because God fearfully and wonderfully made you. And we just have to function in order. Everything has to be in order. You can't get anywhere with complete chaos all the time. So find that place for you, find that balance for you, be you, be who you are, and don't let nobody tell you not to be. And don't let nobody tell you who to be either. You be you. And so with that, we'd like to bring this to a close. We want to thank everybody for tapping into our Counterpoise podcast this week. We hope you enjoyed this 2-part series. If you have any topics or you want to be on the show, please feel free to reach out to us. You can hit us up on our Instagram or our email or whatever. All that's going to be right there at the end. Tap in with us. Oh, and if you have questions or whatever, just let us know. We're open to it. Make sure you also tap in with us every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram for our What's Up Wednesday segment. And other than that, fellas, I don't know if you guys have anything to add, but I hope everybody has a safe and a productive week. And please make sure that you're good to one.
Right. I was going to say, guys, just, I think when it comes to the male perspective, just try to be the best version of yourself. Everybody can't be an alpha. Everybody can't be a beta, but just do the best you can in your role and positioning and what you're trying to do and accomplish in life. And I think you'll be successful as a male, no matter what you're trying to do.
See you guys next week.
All right, guys. Peace out.